Only on 12 News, politicians, activists, and state superintendent of schools Tom Horne are all promoting a study that they say is proof that the rate of misspending is actually low in Arizona's billion-dollar school voucher program.
But 12 News spoke with the man who led that study, and he acknowledges that it has some flaws.
12 News journalist Craig Harris is here to explain. Craig?
Hey, Mark. Good evening, Mark and Craig. We took some time to review the latest report and found at least 24 purchases for items that parents are not allowed to buy according to the state handbook. The only problem? The report said those things were allowed, so we asked the expert why. It's an internal report that State Schools Chief Tom Horne called proof that misspending in the state's school voucher program is very low. But the report apparently miscategorized some banned items as allowed.
$3,200 for PayPal with no explanation of what was supposed to be paid. Why would you allow that?
I didn't do the review of the records.
Joseph Guzman is in charge of accountability, research, and evaluation at the Arizona Department of Education. He has Tom Horne's full support.
It's a sample size that a highly trained person with a PhD chose to be representative of the whole amount. So it's very reliable.
But how reliable were the findings?
Do you know why they would have allowed $3,060 to a woman Dina Wheeler, who does meditation studies?
No, I do not.
Guzman said he was not responsible for identifying misspending and didn't know why so many items weren't flagged.
I can't speak to those because I didn't conduct that, but we might take a look, but I don't have a good answer for you.
Okay.
The question that I think taxpayers need to be asking is, are those appropriate purchases?
Jennifer Jennings is a Princeton University professor who has analyzed ESA data for 12 News.
I think this debate has gotten a little bit off track in thinking that the issue is fraud. The issue is not fraud. The issue is what's allowed in the first place. And there's a great deal that's allowed.
In February, 12 News was the first to show that the Department of Education sent an audit to the Arizona Attorney General. In that audit, Horne's office took a sample from December 2024 to September 2025, reviewing nearly 385,000 transactions and finding 84,000 instances of misspending, or about 20% of purchases in the risk-based randomized audit were not allowed. The report also showed at least 18,000 parent accounts were caught misspending at least once.
Yeah, we don't want 20%, but we hope that some of those mistakes. I think they did try to make a distinction.
The record showed deliberate purchases with tax dollars. 12 News found the average amount of misspending was $336 per account, but it was a wide range. One account holder was flagged for nearly 80 banned purchases, totaling more than $11,000. One person bought 3 bounce houses. Another person bought a souped-up swimming pool, giant TV, and pool bar. Others showed parents were paying themselves, buying gift cards, and staying at luxury hotels. All banned. Guzman said 12 News' reporting was accurate.
But I don't quibble with your number of 20%. It's not the amount. It's the number of identified people or families or parents, if you will.
And after 12 News reported those findings, Guzman said Department of Education leadership asked him to do a new study. That new study looked at a different time frame, July 1st, 2025 to late February, and a much smaller sample size, 8,000 transactions within 3,000 orders, and used apparently different rules to find misspending, concluding it was much lower than the department's earlier report. Guzman said 2 things can be true.
No amount of misspending is worth pursuing, but 1.9% is a high-end estimate of what might be happening, and it doesn't disagree with the numbers that your folks produced. And I'm just saying, different years, different parties, different data sets, and we came to very similar conclusions as far as dollars misspent.
Now, Guzman and the Department of Education maintain that misspending in the billion-dollar program is very low. Now, currently, the Auditor General is reviewing the ESA books, and that will give an impartial look at misspending. With photojournalist Chris Latella, I'm Craig Harris, 12 News.
Greg, it seems like the two studies are apples and oranges. One's a large study, one's a small study, different times. But whether it's 20% misspending or 2%, as they maintain misspending, should 2% be acceptable to Arizona taxpayers?
Well, in a $1 billion program, 2% comes to about $20 million. And they know exactly who those people are. And as a matter of fact, 12 knows exactly who those people, we don't know who the people are, but we know the tax ID numbers or the treasurer ID numbers. And the Superintendent Horn's office knows that, and they know who the account holders are. So they could suspend them immediately if they chose to do so.
Yep. And that was my very next question, Craig, is if they know who these individuals are, who have these accounts, why haven't they suspended those accounts to prevent further misspending?
Well, there's an election a few months away. And if Superintendent Horn freezes those accounts, that's 18 to 20,000 people he's going to make mad, and they probably vote. And so he's running in a tight primary against Treasurer Kimberly Yee to be the next state school superintendent. So there's some politics involved. There's also the Department of Education says they have due process, but the handbook is very clear. You can suspend these accounts immediately and make them pay the money back. And overall, Tom Horn's office is just choosing not to do that.
Yeah, just clean up the cheating and it all works. All right, Craig, thanks.